So continuing our discussion on how to collect, filter, and then make potable water fit for human consumption, and even to some extent purify it and remove any heavy metals, pesticides, fertilizers, or other contaminants. So we're going to move on, and one of the things I want to talk about right off the bat is an expedient way to distill water. And how that's done is we just take an ordinary kitchen pot and you look around so that you could use something to stick in the bottom, like so, and it'll be used as a foundation. And then what will actually collect the water will be this type of a receptacle. This is stainless steel. Once again, it won't be hurt by any of the heating or boiling water or steam. And you would set that and center it. And then you would take a lid and actually invert it so it would be concave and set it on thusly. Now what will happen is when you heat the water up to temperature, the steam will hit the glass here and the drops will run down into the stainless steel whisking bowl, and you'll be able to have water free from any type of bacterial, biological contamination, and you can pretty much be assured that you're not going to have a problem with any type of chemical contamination either. So the drawback, of course, is it is very BTU consumptive. So, you know, it could be if you have a heat source and it's not too much trouble, you can go ahead and do that. Another thing is you could also get seawater from that as well. If you're in an area where, you know, you have access to salty water. If you don't have these items, what you can do is if you just have a pot, you could fill it with seawater, for example, and then just take a towel or some type of a, some type of clothing or something and stick over it. And then as it heated, the moisture heated here, it would be free from the salt. So you could just wring it out and not have any saline solution, and you'd be good to go. So, moving on, let's talk about collection. An efficient way, not necessarily efficient, but from a makeshift perspective, more efficient than, say, taking like a small bottle and dipping water and doing it that way. You could take 2 pails, and once again you could take the towel and you could wrap some string or something around the towel or a bungee, or you could even hold it with your feet if you're standing up, and then take your dipping bucket, dip the water, and then pour it right into there, and that will act as your filter. That's your first step. Once again, to repeat what I said in the first video, filtering doesn't make it safe for human consumption when it's just filtered with something that won't take out the bacteria or the other biologicals or the other industrial contaminants. But that's the first step. So now you have your water in your bucket, and then you can measure it out, say pour it into a gallon container. You could even refilter it with what I went before in the last video. You can look at it with a sock. You can double filter it, and then you can either use some of the things I recommended in the first video, Or you can use, it's another good way to filter, or not filter, but make safe for consumption. You can take 32 drops of iodine that you pick up at the pharmacy, and you can add that to a gallon of water. Let it set for 30 minutes and you're good. If you don't have an eyedropper, once again, you can just add it in there, and this is the makeshift eyedropper I explained in the first video. It's just a piece of paper and a spoon, and you just drip it in. So once you have the primary, you've collected it, you've filtered it, you've made it safe for human consumption as far as from a biological standpoint, then you could just, if you had in your possession, this is something as simple as a Brita, or just something with charcoal, a charcoal filter of some type, a makeshift charcoal filter like I discussed in the first video. You can just then take that water and pour it through, and let it filter through the charcoal. And then you could have something you might be able to consider purified, or at least partially purified water. And I'd have a high degree of confidence in the drinkability of that. A couple of other things I want to just mention in this video. This is Pool Shock, and you can pick up this for less, a package of this I did for less than $4 in Walmart. And the primary ingredient in it's the calcium hypochlorite, and that's what you want to look for. And I'll give you a recipe right now. You can write it down. You know, it'd be good to take notes on this one, because the nice thing about this is this stuff stores indefinitely. You got to be careful though. I mean, if you open this package and you get any of this on your eyes or in your skin, it's very highly concentrated, and so it could do damage. So wear some gloves if you can, some eye protection. I mean, you don't have to be afraid of it, but you do have to treat it with respect. So what you do is you take a half a teaspoon of this and put it in a gallon of water. And what would be nice is if you had like an old bleach gallon of bleach bucket there, and what you do is if you've run out of the bleach, you can just clean it out, and then it's a nice thick plastic. It'll stand up to the chemical that this is, the harsh chemical. And so you take a half a teaspoon of the dried powder, you put it in, you add the water, 1 gallon of water, and this will make you a solution. It's not, I mean, you don't drink that, for God's sakes. That is comparable to the bleach. You can take 10 drops of bleach and add it to a gallon of water and purify it, or you can, once you make this mixture, you can take 10 drops of this mixture also, just like regular bleach, and add it to a gallon of water, and that will kill the biologicals in it. And so it's really important though to know that this half a teaspoon, I want to repeat this because I don't want you to make a mistake, and take a half a teaspoon and put it in a gallon of water and think that that's the water you drink. It's not. That's what I'm trying to say. That's like the water you use now, the gallon you use to treat other water that you've collected. Okay? It's what you're actually doing is you're like, think of it as like you're rehydrating bleach. Like you're rehydrating a gallon of bleach. Okay, so moving on to the next item, and I'll don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to wrap this up. But the final point is, or one of the final points, is you have to look around and you have to be resourceful. Like I picked this up at a closeout sale for in a pet store, and it has all the activated charcoal. It has these filters, and you could use these filters. I mean, you could pour water through the filters, you know, dirty water through the filters, and that could be your first filtering. You can use the charcoal for the expedient filters that I talked about, and it's just another way that you have to think on the fly, perhaps, if you're caught with your pants down in a shit hit the fan situation. And that's really the purpose of these two videos, is to help you be a versatile person, a person that can adapt and survive. And so finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that every person who is interested in prepping should look for some type of guidebooks. And I'm not going to recommend any particular guidebooks. The reason I'm showing you these three is I was down in Barnes and Noble. I was down in Barnes and Noble, and they had a 75% off sale of that price. And so for a couple of bucks, for about $6, I got all three of these. And they have chapters in there about, for example, water. So a man can then use these as reference guides to get ideas. And I don't care who you are, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if whatever your profession is, if you're really good at what you do, we all have guidebooks to reference and to look back in and get ideas from. And so that's my final recommendation on this, and I'll conclude this video about expedient water collection and water storage, and we'll move on. I plan to leave soon for the Grand Canyon, and I'll be doing some videos up there. First, I may shoot another video or two here at home, and so you can watch for that, and I'll talk to you later.